Alice was sitting by the river with her sister, feeling bored and sleepy. Her sister was reading a book, but Alice could not see any pictures or conversations in it. She sighed and thought, what is the use of a book without pictures or conversations? It looked so dull. Just then, something strange happened. A white rabbit ran close by. At first, Alice thought nothing of it. After all, rabbits often ran across fields. But this one was very unusual. It was wearing a coat, carrying a pocket watch, and muttering to itself, "Oh, dear! Oh, dear! I shall be late." Alice's eyes grew wide. She had never seen a rabbit that behaved like a person, curious and excited. She jumped up and ran after him. The rabbit hurried across the grass and disappeared into a large rabbit hole. Without stopping to think, Alice followed, falling down. The rabbit hole was not short at all. Alice suddenly felt herself falling, as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. Down, down, down she went, deeper and deeper into the earth. At first, she was frightened, but after a while she became calm. She looked around and noticed shelves with jars, maps, and books on the walls of the tunnel. She picked up one jar labeled orange marmalade. It was empty, so she carefully put back on another shelf as she continued to fall. She wondered where she would end up. Perhaps I am falling right through the earth, she thought. Maybe I will come out on the other side, among people who walk upside down. Oh, how strange that would be. The fall seemed endless. Alice began to imagine what her cat Dinah might be doing at home. She even thought about asking Dinah to visit her in this strange world, if such a thing were possible. At last, bump, she landed softly on a pile of dry leaves. To her surprise, she was not hurt at all. She jumped up quickly and looked around. The hall of doors. Alice found herself in a long hall with doors all around it. Every door was locked. She tried each one, but none would open. Feeling disappointed, she walked back to the center of the hall. There she saw a little table made of glass. On it was a tiny golden key. Alice picked up the key and tried on the big doors, but it did not fit. Then she noticed a small door hidden behind a curtain. She tried the key again. It fit. She opened the little door and peeped through. Beyond it, she saw the loveliest garden she had ever imagined. Bright flowers, cool fountains, and green lawns. Alice longed to go inside, but the door was far too small for her. She lay on the floor, pressing her face against the opening, but her head barely fit. Sighing, she closed the door and went back to the table. There she noticed a small bottle with a label around its neck. The label said in large letters, "Drink me." Alice hesitated. It doesn't say poison, so it should be safe, she reasoned. She tasted it, and it was delicious, like cherry, pineapple, custard, roast turkey, and warm toast, all at once. She finished the whole bottle. Immediately she felt herself shrinking. Smaller and smaller she became, until she was only 10 inches tall. "Wonderful," she cried. "Now I can fit through the little door into the garden." But when she ran back, she realized she had left the key on the table. Now the table was too high for her to reach. She tried climbing up, but the legs were too smooth. Poor Alice sat down and began to cry. Then she noticed a small glass box under the table. Inside it was a cake with the words, "Eat Emmy," written in icing. Well, Alice said, if drinking made me small, perhaps eating will make me big again. Let's try. She took a bite. The pool of tears. Suddenly she felt herself growing, taller and taller, until her head hit the ceiling. She quickly picked up the golden key, but now she was far too large to enter the little door. Tears filled her eyes. "Oh, dear, I will never get into that lovely garden," she sobbed. Her tears fell so fast that soon there was a pool of salty water around her. It grew larger and larger until Alice was almost swimming in it. Just then she heard hurried footsteps. The White Rabbit appeared again, still muttering to himself, "Oh, my ears and whiskers! How late it's getting!" Alice tried to speak to him, but her voice was so loud that the rabbit dropped his gloves and fan in fright, then ran away. Alice picked him up. As she waved the fan, she felt herself shrinking once more. In a moment she was small again, so small that she slipped and fell right into her pool of tears. The water closed over her head, and she began to swim. Around her floated other creatures who had also fallen into the pool: a mouse, a duck, a dodo, and a lory. Alice swam toward the mouse. "Hello, mouse. Do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired swimming." The mouse looked at her seriously. "Follow me," it said. "We will reach the shore soon." So Alice and the animals swam together toward the bank. At last they climbed out, wet and shivering, but safe. Alice looked around at her strange new companions and wondered what would happen next in this curious land. The caucus raced in a long tail. Alice and the animals climbed out of the pool of tears, wet and uncomfortable. Everyone complained, shivering in the cool air. Finally, the dodo had an idea. "We must all get dry. The best way is to have a caucus race." Alice had never heard of such a race, but the dodo explained, "We all run in a circle, starting whenever we like and stopping whenever we like. Everyone wins." So the animals ran around in a circle, chasing each other without order. After some time, the dodo clapped his wings and announced, "The race is over. Everyone has won, and all must have prizes." The animals looked at Alice. She had no prizes to give. Finally, she pulled some candies from her pocket and shared them. Everyone seemed satisfied. The mouse then began to tell a long, boring story to dry them with words. Alice tried to listen politely, though she understood little. The White Rabbit's house. Suddenly, the White Rabbit appeared again. He mistook Alice for his servant and ordered, "Run home and fetch me my gloves and fan." Alice followed him to his little house. Inside, she found more gloves and a fan. But she also saw a bottle on a table without a label. Curious as always, she drank from it. Instantly, she began to grow larger and larger until her head pressed against the ceiling and her arms stuck out the windows. The rabbit and his friends tried to pull her out. They threw pebbles at her, but the pebbles turned into little cakes. Alice ate one, and this time she shrank small again. She escaped quickly from a house before anything stranger could happen. The caterpillar. Alice walked through the woods, wondering about her size. Sometimes she was too big, sometimes too small, and she wished she could stay the same for a while. Soon she came upon a blue caterpillar, sitting on a mushroom, smoking a long pipe. The caterpillar looked at her lazily and asked, "Who are you?" Alice felt confused. I hardly know, sir. I have changed so many times today. I'm not sure who I am anymore." The caterpillar did not seem surprised. After a long silence, he finally said, "One side of the mushroom will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you shorter." Alice carefully broke off 2 pieces of the mushroom, keeping one in each hand. She tasted one piece and shrank too much, almost disappearing. Quickly, she nibbled the other piece and grew tall again. At last, she found a balance and returned to a comfortable size. The Cheshire Cat. Alice continued until she reached a large house. Outside was the Duchess, holding a baby, while her cook angrily threw dishes across the kitchen. The baby sneezed constantly from the pepper in the air. The Duchess gave the baby to Alice. To Alice's shock, the baby turned into a pig in her arms. She put it down quickly, and it ran into the woods. Suddenly, a Cheshire Cat appeared on a tree branch above her. It had a wide, mischievous grin. "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" Alice asked. "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," Alice began. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," the cat answered with a grin. Before disappearing, the cat suggested she visit either the Mad Hatter or the March Hare. Both were mad, he said, but in Wonderland, everyone was mad. The Mad Tea Party. Alice decided to visit the March Hare's house. There she found a long table set under the trees. The March Hare, the Mad Hatter, and a sleepy dormouse were having tea. "No room, no room," they cried when Alice approached. "There's plenty of room," Alice said, sitting down. The tea party was the strangest she had ever seen. The Hatter asked riddles like, "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" but never gave a real answer. They moved seats constantly, dipped watches into tea, and poured tea onto bread. The dormouse told nonsense stories, falling asleep in the middle of sentences. Alice grew tired of their madness and finally walked away, though the cat had been right. They were all quite mad. The Queen of Hearts. Alice soon came to a beautiful garden filled with roses. Some gardeners were painting the white roses red, afraid of the Queen's anger. Suddenly, the Queen of Hearts arrived with a great procession of cards, soldiers, and courtiers. She was fierce and quick-tempered, shouting often, "Off with their heads!" At first, Alice felt nervous, but then she realized the Queen's threats were rarely carried out. The King of Hearts usually calmed her. The Queen invited Alice to play a game of croquet, but this was no ordinary game. The mallets were flamingos, the balls were hedgehogs, and the arches were soldiers bending over. The hedgehogs rolled away, the flamingos twisted their necks, and the soldiers walked off. The game was complete chaos. In the middle of it, Alice saw the Cheshire Cat again, smiling in the air. The Queen grew furious at the cat's behavior and shouted for its head. But since the cat had no real body, only a floating head, nobody could decide how to cut it off. The Mock Turtle story. The Queen then commanded Alice to meet the Mock Turtle, escorted by the Griffin. The Mock Turtle was very sad and told long, strange stories about a school under the sea. He described lessons in reeling and writhing, ambition, distraction, and derision. He also spoke of dances like the lobster quadrille, while the Griffin encouraged Alice to join. Though the tales made little sense, Alice listened politely. The trial. Finally, the Queen ordered Alice to attend the trial. The Knave of Hearts was accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. The King of Hearts acted as judge, while the White Rabbit served as herald. The witnesses included the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and the Dormouse, each giving ridiculous and confusing answers. Alice, meanwhile, had slowly begun to grow taller again, until she was standing high above everyone else in the courtroom. At last, the Queen shouted furiously, Off with her head!" pointing directly at Alice. But Alice felt no fear now. She stood tall and declared, "You are nothing but a pack of cards." Immediately, the cards rose into the air and flew at her, swirling around like a storm. The ending. Alice gave a cry, and suddenly she woke up. She was lying by the river bank once more, her head in her sister's lap. The sun was shining, and the gentle river flowed beside them. It had all been a dream, a strange, wonderful, and curious dream. Alice smiled to herself, knowing she would never forget her journey in Wonderland.